Hi, Sue, and welcome to the Thrive in Life and Business podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It feels wonderful to do this exchange.
Yeah, no, it's absolute pleasure. Very excited for our conversation. So,
Me too.
before we dive into today's episode, would you be so kind as to give our listeners and viewers on YouTube a little insight into you, who you are, and what you do?
Of course. So hello everybody. Yes, I'm Sue. I am the founder of Sue Richards Coaching, very imaginatively named. I live in South Devon. I'm a mum of three, and I work with self-employed women to help them simplify their lives and their businesses so that they can fulfill their dreams and their ambitions without hitting burnout. So not dissimilar to what you do, Tara. Yeah, I'm very much about simplifying everything, getting it down to like the core components and the core actions that are going to take them forwards in whatever direction that looks like for them.
I love that. How did you get into that line of work?
Oh my goodness. I don't really know is the short answer. Um, so I'm a qualified personal trainer and nutritionist. I'm also a qualified accountant. And over the last 12 years, I have very, very slowly started to blend all of it together. So started off 12 years ago, very much in the world of fitness and, well, actually not really fitness, more in confidence and energy management, but using movement and nutrition to help people boost their confidence, boost their energy, boost their self-esteem, be more efficient, just generally feel better about themselves and in themselves. And then over the years, what I've realized, or what I did realize, was that there was a lot of mindset work going on in amongst all of this. So I started to realize that the personal training sessions were a bit like a sticking plaster, that they would come to me, we'd not only lift weights, but also there'd be some, not quite counseling, but there'd be life conversations that would happen in that personal training room. And then they'd go away and then they'd come back a week later and nothing had really changed other than that they were back in the room wanting to lift weights and have conversation again. So I started to realize that mindset work was a really, really important part of not just physical training, but also living the life that we wanted to live. So I was very much focused more on the life side of things back then. And then just gradually over the years, the clients that have come to me have become more and more women who are self-employed women with their own businesses. And more of my accountancy and business sort of head has come into the mix as I've worked with those clients, and more of the strategy side of things and more of the skills and knowledge and experience that I've had as a self-employed woman have all come into the mix as well.
I love that. And it's so interesting, isn't it? When you think about what business is and you think about what's really important in business, two key elements are kind of your background. So the money side and the health side. And I think so often they're actually bits that are ignored or they're parts of the business that people just don't give that much attention to. So I love that you've almost got that background to lean upon as the foundation of your coaching today. I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, I'm very much I'm really about the human behind the business. So I really strongly believe that when you look after this body that we're in, and we look after our emotional energy, our physical energy, our mental energy, then our business naturally flows anyway because we're naturally aligned with the things that bring us joy. We're naturally aligned with the clients that we want to work with. We're naturally aligned with our energy patterns and what works best for us and what doesn't work for us. And so yeah, the blend feels really, really powerful. And it's really interesting because the accountancy side of things, I have for such a long time, I've like pushed it to one side and gone, no, that's not part of the story. That's not what I do. I really want to focus on the health side of things. I really want to focus on, like you, building a thriving business, but building a thriving body that goes, a thriving human that goes along with that business. And so I'd sort of parked the accountancy stuff to one side and go, no, it's nothing to do with it. And somebody recently mentioned it to me, and more people have mentioned it to me. And I'm like, oh no, yeah, you need to come along. You're allowed to come and sit with me now. I welcome you into the mix. And it's almost like this really sort of odd directions that I've gone in where I've not really known why. I don't really know why I qualified as an accountant, sort of fell into it. And I've always wondered where it was really taking me. And now I'm like, oh, yeah, that's where it's taking me.
Now it makes
It's almost like it just had to take time to, I don't know, to digest itself in my body and be allowed to sort of sit together alongside the health side of things. Been really, really interesting few weeks actually, how this has all pieced itself together finally.
And it's with like hindsight 2020 vision that you can actually look back and you're like, oh, no, it makes sense. So I always
Yeah.
think like all of these random paths, pivots, trajectories, like they're all for a reason. They're all forming something greater than we can probably ever manage or control or plan or predict. But it's only sometimes when we're years down the line, we look back and we think, that's why that had to happen in that way. But when you're so in it, or when you're so in that accountancy qualification, sometimes it's so hard to make sense of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I literally did fall into it post graduation. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left university. Because I'd gone to university with a plan. I was going to become a medical researcher. That was my original plan. And then for one reason and another, I decided I didn't want to do a PhD. So I left uni not really knowing what I wanted to do. Just got a job to pay the rent, which was mind-numbingly boring. And so about 9 months in, I've got to do something to use my brain. And I just thought, well, I'm quite good at numbers, so why don't I why don't I join an accountancy practice? And I actually left 18 months after qualifying because I realized I didn't want to be in practice. I knew it wasn't the right place for me, well, mainly because I could see myself heading down that corporate burnout trajectory even then. And so I left, and I've been teaching accountancy and tax now for 24 years. And I still do that
Yeah.
alongside my coaching work, but on a freelance basis. So it's in my control. And yeah, yeah, I did wonder why I ever went down that route, but now I know. So
Yeah.
it's all good.
No, it's perfect. Talk to me about the burnout piece because I know that you and I have had conversations about burnout before. When I came on to your podcast as a guest, we spoke about burnout at length. What's that burnout journey for you? What's the story? What is it that makes you so passionate about helping your clients grow their businesses, create these incredible, thriving lives, but without the burnout? What's the burnout connection for you?
Okay, so there's two parts to this. The first part is I've experienced burnout myself on a couple of occasions, not quite as extreme as your story, Tara. I haven't ended up in A&E with hot water bottle all over me. But I have closed my business down twice because I knew I just didn't, I'd lost all my motivation, I'd lost my mojo, I'd lost my energy, I'd lost the desire. Like I just fell out of love with my business where I'd pushed so hard to try and drive it forward and I'd pushed myself into the ground basically. So twice I've closed my business down, and then about 12 months later, typically I'm like, no, I need to reopen this. It's still inside of me. I need to be doing this. So I'm a lot more in control of my energy now and a lot more aware when I'm hitting the edge of burnout or heading in that direction. I can pull myself back from it very, very quickly, which I know you and I have spoken about as well. But the other piece is my dad. So my dad died at 56 of a heart attack.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Um, I told him when I was 12 that he would die before he retired because I could see even then what was going on. I didn't really know what it was, but I knew that he was treating his body really badly. I didn't realize then, but I now know that it was chronic stress. And what I did experience off the back of it was a hot-tempered, very anxious, no, not anxious even, angry. He was an angry man. He was trying to prove something. He'd had a really, really awful childhood, which I didn't know about till after he'd passed away. But he was very much needing to prove himself. I don't know who he was trying to prove himself to, probably his mother, but I don't actually know. And so he pushed himself and pushed himself and pushed himself. And as a child, I watched him treat himself really, really badly and treat us quite badly as well at times. So yeah, we had a lot of anger, a lot of shouting in our house. And I now know why. I understand it, and I don't hold any grudges against him. I empathize actually with what he went through. But yeah, at 56, he died of a heart attack. So, and I believe that could have been prevented had he not been living the way he was living and pushing himself in the way he was pushing it. So, whilst I work well, I do work with women. I love working with women versus men. He is a big driver behind why I do what I do because I don't want other people to experience that.
Yeah. Love that. And I imagine like a lot of the women that you work with are probably mums or want to have children at some point down the line.
Yeah.
Their health is such a big part of that. And I
Yeah.
think so often we just slip into these habits or we slip into these routines or we slip into like a hustle mentality without realizing actually what it's doing to us internally, whether it's your mental health, your physical health, your the health of your organs. Like we just don't always really realize what we're doing. And one thing that I know I'm definitely passionate about, and I'm sure you are as well, without putting words in your mouth, is really helping people, especially business owners, create an incredible life and do incredible work and work the hours they want to, but without the burnout, without the hustle. I genuinely believe that you can work 7 days a week if you want to, and it doesn't have to be hustle. That's what I do, and it doesn't feel like hustle, it doesn't feel like burnout, but it's so different and it's such a different energy that it's coming from. It's not coming from this force, this proving, this hustle. It's coming when you're in flow and in peak state and you've got so much creativity and clarity and energy coming out of you. And I think it's so different. And we've got to, I think, have those conversations about
Yeah.
recognizing that the driving force behind our goals or our actions and the intentions that we're setting for ourselves.
I couldn't agree more. And the whole just coming back to the 7 day a week piece, we are we are so led to believe that we must work Monday to Friday, the 5 day working week. And we forget that when we have our own businesses, we are completely in control of our hours. We're completely in control of when we work, how we work, who we work with, how fast we grow our business, how much we charge, we're in control of literally everything. And yet, so often we fall back into old ways of being, of thinking it has to be Monday to Friday. I really shouldn't work at the weekends. And then hustling harder from Monday to Friday in order to then have a weekend off when actually you're just exhausted and on your knees and probably a bit resentful of the fact that you had to work really fucking hard during the week in order to make a weekend happen. Well, how about instead of doing that, we go, right, I'm going to just work like you, 7 days a week. I know you've spoken about this before. I've heard you speak about it before. It might have been even when we recorded your podcast with me is some days you'll work 12 hours and other days it might be half an hour. And that's cool because that's honoring what's right for you in that moment. It's honoring your energy, it's honoring your capacity. And it's not thinking, well, I must work these particular hours in order to make this work. And the 12-hour day isn't necessarily about hustling, is it? It's about actually I'm in flow. So let's just keep going while I'm in flow and then I might have some time off tomorrow because I might not be in flow tomorrow.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think it's so important that, especially as women, but I think just as business owners, we really start to find our way. I've been doing a lot of kind of research recently into our cycles as women and when we are
Mm.
at our most productive, when we're at most outgoing, when we want to be, you know, visible on video, being here, there, and everywhere, going to events, when we've naturally got more energy,
Yeah,
versus at certain times in our month when we just want to hide away more. And
yeah,
I've been doing a lot of work looking into that because we don't have the same energetic rhythm as a man. A man's energy is reset every 24 hours, ours is every 28 days. And we're trying to force ourselves and fit into a very masculine way of working, a very masculine designed calendar. And we're just trying to do everything whilst then trying to have the same energy every 24 hours without fail. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. And that's been really interesting. And the more I lean into that, the more I can actually come at my own calendar and at myself with kindness and compassion for myself. It's like,
mm,
okay, it's period week, so I'm not going to be so outgoing this week. I'm going to want to eat more, and I probably won't want to speak to anyone. That's okay. Next week, I know I'll be back on form. But
Yeah.
again, I think the more we can educate ourselves and have these sorts of conversations, the more we can normalize the journey that we're on, the more we can normalize how we show up and when we show up and how we show up in certain ways, and just how we're going to thrive, not just survive in life and in business.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the energy piece is huge. Energy and capacity
Mm.
is huge because many of the clients I work with, like you say, many of them have got children. And so their capacity is squeezed, not only their physical capacity, the amount of time they've got in their diary, but also their emotional capacity and their mental capacity because they've got enough fucking stuff going on in their head already. And then they've got a business in there too. And so what I support my clients with is understanding, yes, their energy rhythms, when are they best suited to be doing their creative work versus when should they be doing their admin work? Because if we get it the wrong way round, we're wasting a whole heap of precious creative time on answering emails. And we also look at what, with the capacity you do have available to you, how can you use that optimally to make sure that you're getting the best bang for your buck, as it were? Because we talk so much about like return on investment when it comes to financial investments. But I think what a lot of us have forgotten and we're relearning. I think really think there's a real relearning about all of this going on at the moment. Is that actually we need to look at the return on our time and the return on our energy as well, because if we're putting all of our time and energy into the wrong thing, then we're never going to move forwards, and all we're going to be is exhausted and frustrated. So we need to make sure that we're monitoring that as well. And whether you're on a 28-day cycle or the joys of being perimenopausal, where I go 6 months without a bleed and then, oh, joy, we're back to bleeding again. It's actually less about the days of the week or the days of the month, but just learning to read what your energy is. And you mentioned about when you're on your bleed that you're less sociable. Funnily enough, when I'm bleeding, that's when I've got more energy. It's really strange how my body seems to work slightly differently. And that's the cool thing about us as humans, because we're all different. But it also creates challenge because you can't then pick up somebody else's like tracker or whatever and go, well, I'll shove that into my situation because our bodies are different, our situations are different, our goals are different. And so being able to read our own energies and be aware of when we're better at certain things than other things, that's where we real get real momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to almost use that as leverage. So much like I shared, well, on this podcast, but I think when you and I spoke, there were times last year, I'd say most of the second half of the year, when I was working 7 days a week, but it didn't ever feel like, oh God, I got to do that because I naturally had so much energy because I was in my peak season. It was summer and like going into autumn, gorgeous weather. I'm here, there, and everywhere. I'm a lot more going out, I'm going to events, I'm seeing people, I'm doing
Yeah.
things, and I'm naturally just getting all of that energy from being everywhere and doing so many things. And I think there's
Yeah.
something to be said for that as well. And I think also with that, like recognizing capacity that you have will be different at certain times of the year as well.
Yeah.
I know in the summer I can go balls to the wall, like just go absolutely like crazy busy with business. I'm going to events all the time. I'm just I go big in the summer because I can hold so much in the summer. I feel it's my peak time. I don't want to be a hermit, like I'm definitely a hermit in the winter, but I lean into that. And then I think,
Yeah.
right, what can I do to like ramp up the business in the summer months when I'm leaning into those strengths?
Yeah. I love that because you're so aware of when your energy's good and when your energy's maybe a little flatter, and then you can adapt your business strategy around days of the week, weeks of the month, months of the year,
Yeah,
seasonal, all that stuff. Yeah, it's powerful,
it is.
really powerful.
But it's taken so long to get to that point where I now
Yeah.
know that. Whereas over the winter, I think like December and January, I had a couple of things that had said I was going to go to, then I didn't go to them in the end because I was like, I'm just so exhausted, it's so dark, and I just didn't feel up to it. And I thought, well, that's quite interesting. Whereas in the summer, I can do event, and I just thrive on it. So even this winter, which is my 10th winter in business, even this winter, I've had some realizations. I'm like, okay, so I don't really want to be going out and doing much in the winter. I mean, I struggle with winter wardrobe. That's why I'm wearing black today because it's so cold outside today. But I really struggle with like the winter wardrobe and winter things. And I think that then kind of seeps into my natural energy as well.
Yes. Yes. I mean, what we wear has such a big impact, doesn't it? I mean, I know it seems so superficial, and yet actually that outer that outer appearance has such a big impact on our inner
Yeah,
energy. And
yeah.
it's not about what anybody else thinks about what we're wearing. It's not that. We're not worried. It's not like a performative thing. It's actually, I feel really good in these clothes, and therefore internally I feel really good as well. And I can bring that out externally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fell into the trap as many people did in lockdown of living in like shitty clothes, hoodies and well, not quite hoodies, but you know, really like lazy clothes. And it's taken me quite a while to get back in the swing of honoring actually it's really nice to put nice clothes on. And particularly because I live in South Devon and so many people down here are in like shorts and a t-shirt all summer long, which is cool. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt quite a lot in the summer as well. But actually it's really nice to put on something a bit dressy and something that feels really a little bit sexy or a little bit sassy or I don't know, just whatever mood you're in, just dress for it and make yourself feel good and have the clothing feel nice against your skin as well. There's nothing worse than having clothes on that feel a bit,
That was
ugh.
horrible. It's so funny. I
Yeah.
did an Instagram post yesterday where I spoke about like this time 6 years ago when the world went a little bit crazy. And I was like, here's what followed me losing clients every single day for a week. And one of the pictures was a picture that I took when I was sat on the grass with my little dog in the garden. And I had a spotty jumpsuit on with some wedges. And every single day throughout all of the lockdowns, I still got up and got myself ready for work every single day, even though nothing had changed. Been working at home for years, been on Zoom for years, but I thought I've got to still get myself ready because when I get myself
Mm,
ready, it almost shifts something internally. It's like I'm saying
yeah,
to myself, right, I'm in business mode now.
yeah,
Whereas in the morning, when I go for my walk and I do my workout, I'm in leggings and a jumper. And even to this day, I'm like, right, I need to get ready for work now because it just shifts something inside. I think it just gets me into business mode. And I'm not sitting here saying that you have to dress up every day, otherwise you're not professional or successful. Like, I'm not saying that. But for me personally, that little ritual, if you like, is like, right, I'm ready for work now. I've done my morning exercise, I've done my morning routine. Now I'm in work mode. And that differentiation really, really helps me.
yeah. I'm the same. Very, very much the same, which is why I can't exercise in the middle of the day because I'm like, well, I've put my like good clothes on now. I've
Yeah,
I've done the dog walk. I've been over the fields. Sometimes exercise depending upon the day. And now I've showered and dried my hair and got myself dressed. I don't want to get out of this now until later. And one ritual I've brought into play is I've got a candle lit on my desk. And that candle stays lit until I finish working and then I blow it out.
love that.
So it's like that's a real signature, like I'm starting work, I'm finishing work.
Yeah.
It's completely unscented and very natural. I've actually made it myself. But yeah, I've really noticed that's really powerful, particularly for closing the day down. I'm like, blow the candle out. I'm not coming back in here now. That's the day done.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have any other routines or rituals that you really think help you with running your business?
Walking.
Yes, oh my gosh.
I mean, if I was to say anything to anybody, it would, and I talk about this a lot on my social media, is if you're not moving your body as a business owner, you are literally we're not wasting time, but you are doing yourself a disservice because the movement, the fresh air, it is so powerful. And it's yes, it's good for your physical health, but it's for up here, it's for my mental health and for my creativity and for my nervous system, actually. Like this morning, I woke up and I felt really quite agitated. I don't really know why. And I did a little bit of, pranayama, a bit of breathing exercises while I had my morning drink. But it's really when I get out walking and I feel like it's something to do with the ground and the repetition of foot on ground and a bit of like rhythmical not quite shaking, but like a vibration through my body. and it dissipates that agitation and mild anxiety. And I use walking all the time. If I've got anything that feels a bit tight, I'll go out walking.
Yeah. I did a reel about this as well the other day. And it said something like, why do you walk so much? Because I literally do 3 walks a day. My dog's legs are like 2, 3 inches long, so she doesn't want to do many steps. Whereas me, I'm like 14,000 steps a day kind of gal. But it does so much. Like even just walking out this morning, and it's quite windy here in Cotswolds, and I could hear all the trees blowing and all the leaves were a bit rustly. And even just walking this morning, I was like, and it just, I think nature just does something to your nervous system, to your mind, and it just feels like this reset or a release. It's so hard to describe, but I think just doing that just resets something. It really does.
I couldn't agree more. But what I would say is to anybody listening to this who doesn't happen to live in a beautiful area of the country like you and I, because I've literally got fields literally next door to my house,
Yeah, yeah,
um, even walking on pavements does it has a benefit. Yes, if you can get out in nature, even better. But yeah, just move your body, please, guys. Just move your body and drink more water and get to bed early. They're my three, like real, like if you're going to do anything for your health, that's all you need to do. It
yeah,
doesn't need to be big. You don't need to be going to the gym 15 times a week or, on some crazy detox diet. You just need to do the basics and just do a little bit of the basics every single day and you'll be good. You're
yeah.
good.
And I think there's so much to be said for that because I think sometimes people almost overcomplicate things
Yeah.
or feel like it's not enough or feel like they've seen some influencer on Instagram who's taking 68 supplements a day and they should also be doing the same. It's
Yeah.
like, actually, no, if you really think about what your body needs and then you do that consistently, over time that will compound.
Yeah, indeed. And the same in business, right?
Yeah,
Simple steps compounded and you're on to a winner, really. Simple, appropriate steps compounded, you're on to a winner.
absolutely. Now, I know I recently came on your podcast. Would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about your podcast, what it's all about, and what you love to discuss on there?
I would. That would be amazing. So my podcast is called Pep Talks with Sue Richards. I mentioned the with Sue Richards because there's various Pep Talks podcasts out there. And PEP is spelled PEPP, and that stands for peace, ease, passion, and purpose. So the idea is it is aimed at self-employed women, and it's aimed at women who want to build a passion-led business. They have a purpose that they want to bring to the world, and a purpose for themselves for that matter, but they want to do it from a place of peace and ease. So they want to bring more peace and ease into their lives as they build their business. So that's what that stands for. It's really what the premise of it is. I have guests on like yourself who talk about all sorts of things that help them bring peace and ease to their lives and their businesses. And I do solo episodes as well. My solo episodes are usually around 10 to 15 minutes, so they're quite short but jam-packed. And then obviously the guest sessions are a little bit longer, typically about half an hour. I've been running it for about a year. I love it.
Love that. Yeah, and I love listening to a couple of your episodes before we had our call. So yeah, please do go and check it out, everybody. Thank you so much, Sue. It's been such a insightful conversation. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I think there's just some real golden nuggets in there that people can just take away and think, right, how can I implement this? How can I learn from this? And how can we keep prioritizing our health actually so that we can then thrive in life and in business? Where would you love to connect with anybody if anyone's got any questions or would love to connect with you?
So I love hanging out on Instagram. That's my favorite platform. I am on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, but Instagram's like my preferred option. And it's suerichards.coaching. And if anybody would love to come along on a Tuesday evening to a free journaling circle, I would love to invite people along to that. As I say, it's completely free of charge. It's on Zoom, 8 p.m. every Tuesday. And we dig into all sorts of journaling around bringing more peace and ease into your life, but getting that clarity and that calmness as well. And yeah, it's just a beautiful, beautiful space where people leave feeling inspired and lighter and ready for the rest of the week with some ideas of where they might move things forward and change things in their life and their business.
I love that. That's incredible. Thank you so much for being here and sharing so much of your wisdom today. And thank you for all that you do for your incredible clients and your community. And thank you for being a guest on the Thrive in Life and Business podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.